Hi, everybody. I'm Amy,
And I'm Audrea,
and this is The Right Crowd. So grab a cup of coffee,
or a cup of tea.
maybe a little something on the rocks, and let's get started. All right, so disclaimer before we get started on this one. You'll notice my voice is a little different. I've had a sinus infection for about 2 weeks now, which has made my throat not cooperate with me and my voice sound like I am a smoker. So I won't be doing a lot of talking in this one. And if all of a sudden I go mute, it's because I'm having a coughing fit. So what are we discussing this week, Audrea?
We are back with The Right Read, 27 Essential Principles of Story, and by Daniel Joshua Rubin, which is a really good book. I am really enjoying this book. I hope you guys are reading along with us. This is the first time we've ever done this sort of book club long extended version on camera, sort of, so to speak. So we're in chapter 9 this week. So chapter 9 is
Confirm the decision. We're doing
confirm.
9 and 10 this week, guys. 9
Yeah,
and 10.
9 and 10. Confirm the decision. I had never thought about what Daniel Joshua Rubin says to confirm the decision means. So basically, it in the quick take at the top of the chapter, he says, after your protagonist makes the critical decision to slay the dragon or stand up to the bully or land the burning plane or whatever it is, they are not finished. The first decision begins the end of the story, but then they must make a second decision that confirms their commitment. And I never thought of it that way, but the way he describes it, it's like in all the good movies, that does happen. They say, we're going to do this, but then they like step back a little bit and then they really get in it, or they paint war paint on their face, or whatever it is. They strap the gun on and head out into the wilderness, whatever that decision is, they confirm the decision. So he says in the last chapter, chapter 8, it was begin with the critical decision. And this one is now they've made that critical decision, the character has to commit to it. So in this chapter, the media that he uses Rocky, and he uses the remains of the day. And the example in Rocky, everybody's seen Rocky, the first one, the first Rocky, he commits to just going all the way. He will not let his coach or his corner guy pull him out of the fight. He says, and everybody, even his guy, is saying, stay down, Rocky. And Rocky's getting beat to the pulp. Rocky has committed. He's not going to be no punk from the neighborhood. He's going all the way. Even if he doesn't win, he is going all the way to round 10. And his corner guy says, or his manager screams at him to stay down. He can't see. His eyes get beaten until they're like swollen. So he can't fight if he can't see. The guy cut his eyelid so he could see through it, which is gross. So gross. But you know that guy is committed. Rocky is committed to going all the way if he's having somebody cut open his eyelid lid so he can see through all the blood and swollen eye
I
stuff.
don't do eye things.
It's a little intense. So also in this first section, he says that the first critical decision usually begins the ending around the 2/3 or 3/4 mark. So that's where it usually happens in your work of fiction. And for detective fiction, it's usually around, some examples of this would be the intrepid amateur sleuth is decided to find out who killed the person or stole the gems or whatever they did, and they get thwarted at every turn. The person they think did it usually winds up dead, and everybody thinks that the detective or the sleuth should keep their nose out of it, et cetera, et cetera. And even they start to think, well, maybe I should, but they commit to finding the perpetrator. They push forward to the end. It's like that person is pretty much committed to the stupidest thing ever. Usually it's like, just let the cops figure it
Yes.
out. I want to stop though, because I'm doing all the talking because you're sick, but I want to give you a chance to jump in and correct our course. Anything you want to
No,
add?
you're good. You're good. The one part that I was going to point out in this section, you pointed out as I was as I'm looking at it, you were right. We're right on track.
Okay.
Go for
Good, good, good. All right.
it.
I also like, before we move on to the next movie or thing that he uses in the book, towards the end of that first section of how it works, he says, this is where you reveal who they really who okay, I'll start at the beginning of that. Your protagonist makes the decision consciously, whatever the fallout may be. This is where you reveal who they truly are or what they've become along the way in that book, which is pretty cool because through all the ups and downs, they've changed a little bit. And you accept whatever meaning one may reasonably infer from studying this final action. So, so how a master did it. The masterwork that Daniel Joshua Rubin uses for this particular essential principle is Godfather Part 2.
I
And
haven't seen any of the Godfathers.
I've seen more of them than I thought I had seen because I'm not
But I
a
feel like after doing this book, since he uses a lot of the Godfather, like I feel like I need to go watch the Godfather, like all of them.
they are very well done, super well done. I had to watch them in film class in college. So I thought I hadn't seen them, but I have in film class I had to watch them for film study. So in this one, though, this Godfather Part 2 goes over, if you have not read, for those of you who are reading along, and if you have not read all the media or example films and books that he chooses, he does, dang, hats off to Mr. Daniel Joshua Rubin. He does such a great job of describing the scene or the work all the way up into the whatever that principle is. So you
Yeah.
don't actually have to have seen it because it had been so long since I'd seen Godfather 2, but now then it reminded me of what exactly happened. So in Godfather Part 2, what he says, the decision that spoilers, but this film was made in the was it the 80s?
70s.
70s, that's right. Spoilers, so which are in the book, that Michael decides to kill his brother. I know. And which is such a horrible thing because it's about family and it's such a tragic decision for that character, for his fall, his arc, that character arc through the books and the movie. But he confirms that he decides that he must do it. And then towards the end, after he's made the decision, Frito looks up into his eyes, a lost child, and throws his arm. Frito is the brother, throws his arms around Michael's waist. As orchestra music crescendos, Michael slowly lifts his eyes to look at Al Neri, a hitman. Even Neri, a hitman, feels ashamed. Michael gives the slightest nod. Yes, he confirms. I'm going to kill my brother. The guy here, my brother. So sad. And the magnitude of this sin cannot be overstated. So that is a true example of a fall of a character and confirming a critical decision. All right. So a great example of confirming the decision. He has some other things in here as you read the book that you'll get more out of it as you read along. So the how you do it, which is I love the how you do it. It's this book. Go buy this book. If you have not bought this book, go buy this book.
I
I'm
mean, at this point, why haven't you bought it? It's our fifth video on the book. I mean,
they bought
let's
it.
get real. Let's get real.
They're reading along with us. Actually, they finished and they were like, you guys have got to keep up, Audrea and Amy. All
Let me
right.
tell you. Let's not talk about that.
Yes, no. All right. So you want to keep, all right. So the how you do it. I've highlighted a couple of things in here. Again, in the how you do it, he tells you how you can apply this principle to your work of fiction, which is again why we say it's a great book. It's a great way to improve your writing. One of the things, the one at the top was write out your central dramatic question. And then you need to identify the moment the hero makes the critical decision. And I'm not going to read all of them, but the one that I highlighted at the bottom, there's, what is it, 2, 4, 7 of these bullet points or how to apply the principle, was contrast the tone of when the decision is made, like when he makes that critical decision, and then when he confirms the decision. You have to contrast the tone so that because you want to keep these two moments from feeling repetitive and to make each moment as compelling as possible. And I was rereading a scene in my work in progress, and there's a decision made in that scene, and I realized that I had overwritten it so that the decision had been made, and she basically had confirmed the decision. You can do this at the scene level too. But then the question was repeated. because I like the banter between the characters, so they kept going. And I'm like, that we're done. I'm beating a dead horse here. But it's good to do the exercises or the steps in the how you do it and apply that to the entire work. But a lot of these principles you can apply at the scene level as well. And the reason I'm mentioning scene levels because I'm studying scene this summer. I'm diving deep into scene, improving scenes. Are there any other of the how you do it that you want to point out?
Yes. So I like that he says that once your hero confirms the decision, they have to do it in a way that is surprising.
Oh,
So don't just like confirm that he's doing it, but confirm it in a way that you're going, oh, right? Don't make it so that everyone's like, yeah, okay, this is exactly what we expected. Like make it so that you throw your readers in for a loop. Like make it another level up so that it brings them in. It continues to bring them in.
yeah. And I'm going to go back to Rocky because that is an excellent example of that point. The guy says, I'm going all the way. He won't let him pull him out of the fight. And you're like, okay, he's committed. He's still gonna, you're watching it like, okay, he's taking a beating. He's still gonna, but then when he says, cut my eye open, you're like, oh, well, I
I
guess
guess you are committed.
you are very committed. So, a really good example of that. All right. One other thing that he mentions in the how you do it is it authentic? Do you believe that this protagonist would take this action? So the decision and confirming the decision has to stay authentic or true to the character. So good things to read through and next to your work in progress or as you're planning your novel or story and make sure you're doing those things. All right.
Okay.
So the next is the final exam. And I thought the final exam actually in this particular one was very good because the questions that he sets up again, and when he does these little final exam boxes through for every principle, it's your chance to test your knowledge. So he sets up a whole story and then he has you pick the one that is most in keeping with the principle. And the one this example I thought was a great way to hone in or confirm this principle, actually. I got a lot out of this particular final exam. All right. And then the continuing ed was so the other media that he used for this particular principle was the 1953 Western Shane.
Was that before you were born?
How dare you? It was before everybody I know was born.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty well, except for my in-laws. Except for my in-laws. They're 94 and 87. So we'll say it was not before they were born, but close to everybody else.
Okay. Oh, they are 94. Oh, I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's the Western Channel these days, so you can see any of the Westerns. I love some of the old Westerns. They are very
My
good stories.
my mom's mom loved Westerns. Loved, loved, loved them. Louis L'Amour, she's like read every one of his books.
My
Yeah.
husband's best friend is a Louis L'Amour fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
So he uses Shane and actually he quizzes you a little bit on this one. He doesn't give you the ending, which I thought, well, I saw that movie, but it was a long time ago. So I actually needed to go back and see what the answer to the question was. So I didn't think that was fair. But so he uses that to illustrate the whole confirming the decision principle. So that is it for chapter 9. Again, that's confirm the decision. And anything else for you on chapter 9? Did I skip
No,
over anything?
no, you did great. Excellent. I should let you talk more often.
I liked that one. And actually the ones that are coming up, I've been reading, working on some of those this weekend and those I really like this book. I cannot say it enough. All right. So 10 is really good. It's one we should remember for when we are filming. It's called Wrap Up Fast.
So we're done.
Almost. All right. And the quote at the top is a really good one for this particular principle. It's by Chris Farley, the comedian. It says, you enter strong, you exit strong, and you're going to be okay. And so that's the principle. Daniel Joshua Rubin says, after the central dramatic question is answered, tie up any loose ends and get out as quickly as possible. If you linger too long, it's like listening to someone tell you a story after you've gotten to the point. Like, yeah,
And you're going like this, just
let's go.
yes.
What? Yeah. Are we
Oh my
done?
gosh, have you seen it's a recent video that has been going around. I don't TikTok, so I don't know if it's on the TikToks, but I've seen it on Facebook Reels and on Instagram. And the person's talking, and the person in front of them will tap their forehead and say skip intro.
I know, I have not seen
It
that.
is the best thing. There's so many times I want to be like, can you just like
That's
move on?
hilarious. That is hilarious. Are you
So
trying to?
that's what this makes me think of. Like literally just let's let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Let's get on with it. All right. So,
Well, okay, I want to say though, I think a point of this, which it's been a little while since I've read this chapter, so he may point this out, but I think the point of that is if you linger too long, then you lose the effect of what you just did. And now you open it up to other things that now need to be done because you didn't you didn't go through the door.
right, exactly. He does say that, but that is a very good point. And that is why you end it where you end it, because you're going to leave that lasting impression on your readers or movie goers if it's a movie, but or a script, but you want to leave a certain impression on your audience. And
Right.
if you linger too long after you've answered the central dramatic question, after they've saved the girl or saved the world or whatever, and now he's back at home making eggs, and like, why am I, is something else going to happen? Why are we still watching this movie? That has happened before. But he says that the story will dissipate and you lose the effect, which is a really good point to make. So
No, he listened to me. That's exactly what I said.
he's, I'm sure he's thanking you.
I know. I'm so
Yeah.
smart.
Yes, you are. You are.
Even my little voice is just disappearing.
All right. So, how it works, the part that I've highlighted, the film he uses is Late Spring. It's a Japanese film. I have not read it, but his example or his synopsis of it was great because I was drawn into just the synopsis. But the most common rhythm you see is the story hits a high point of tension at the moment when the CDQ or central dramatic question is answered, which is most often called the climax, and the story wraps up with a quieter, more reflective tone. And he says this is for obvious reasons. The audience needs a little room to process the meaning of what's just happened. Like I just watched a big shoot 'em up character, or the president was in peril, the fate of the world was at being held hostage on this remote island thing. I can't remember the movie, but by the time everybody, all the bad guys had gotten their butts kicked and the president was safe, and then they had to wrap up the tension between the president and her daughter. And so those are
There's
all
always a daughter in there messing things up.
I know. She did. Actually, it's a Prime movie. It was a very good one. Well, I liked it. I call them testosterone flicks because they're high action and adventure, etc. But then there's sometimes they give you those quiet moments. There's a resolution. That's the resolution. Like you get to see all the things wrapped up, not just the central dramatic question, but those little bitty side plots and storylines get wrapped up. And then we're done. We're ready to pick up our coats and leave the theater or put the book down or whatever it is. I will say that I was reading a book just recently, and the author ended the book too soon. And they the character, the character was in peril. And yes, that's what it was. The character was in a burning building and we didn't know if she was going to survive. And she just said the end. But then she opened it back up with like a few minutes later, turn the page. That can't be the end. Unless, I mean, that's a cliffhanger. It's a very bad cliffhanger. But I think
It's a cliffhanger that doesn't make sense.
it didn't make any sense. I mean, it was a whole storyline of how to solving a murder. She hadn't wrapped up anything. She put the character in peril, and we think we know who did it, and they're about to burn in a building, and it's like the end. But then she immediately started with the next page was epilogue, and the epilogue. I'm not going to tell you the title of the book, so it's not spoil. In the epilogue, she's saved, and we find out who did it. And I was so mad. I wanted to
Why
call.
was that the epilogue?
It wasn't. It was a misuse of the epilogue. It was wrong, and I just wanted to get the author
I
and write
wonder if
this
she
note.
ended her book and people read her book and were like, and so instead of fixing it and
Oh,
extending the book, she just added the end to be like, okay, everybody said I needed to wrap these things up, so here they are.
that could be. That could
See,
be
that would make me not read any of that person's books,
more books because she
period.
doesn't know how to do.
Because I wouldn't want to get to the end of the next book and be like,
Exactly. That's the feeling you're left with. However, if you follow along with the 27 essential
sorry.
principles of
Yes.
story
Okay. Yes.
and what Daniel Joshua Rubin says to do, that won't happen to you because
No.
you know that you cannot end the book or the movie until you've answered the central dramatic question. And then after you've answered the central dramatic question, you need to wrap it up. You need to give your readers some emotion to end on so that it's memorable and leave them satisfied. So wrap up as much as of all the stuff you can and then get out fast, basically, as he says. So the story he uses, it's a beautiful Japanese story about a father and daughter, and it was just but he says for how you do it in that section, he says after the top of the top bullet point for how to do it in your own work, it's after you answer your story's central dramatic question, take a step back and consider every question your readers might still have about the hero's emotional state, other characters, the world you've created, anything they might wonder about. All of this information must be clearly conveyed. And then he also says focus on efficiency. There's some other really good bullet points here, but
Yeah.
that paragraph, you just take that and I want to send it to that other author and say, this is how you hit the book. And if you
Have you considered?
Yes. Have you considered this principle, essential principle of writing fiction?
Oh,
But
you know what? You just send them a copy of the book. Sorry.
touche. I could do that. But there is that frame of or line of thought where you do cliffhangers. So you do that on purpose. You leave Polly in peril. And will they survive? It's an old story technique. Some people won't read books with cliffhangers.
I think that's a little,
But
so I write most of my short stories I write are cliffhangers. But I think that's a little more of a unfinished to me than a cliffhanger.
yeah,
Because a cliffhanger is, oh, wait,
there's more.
maybe they didn't do it, right? That's more
Right.
of a cliffhanger, not, oh my God, are they going to die? Like that's not, to
Yeah.
me, for me, when I'm thinking cliffhangers and writing cliffhangers, that's a little bit more. The cliffhanger to me in that would be someone pulls her out and she sees the shadow of the person walking away and you don't know who that person is.
Yes.
To
Yes.
me, that would be the cliffhanger, not she's
She's
in a burning building
never.
and
Yeah.
did you just kill her? And who did it? Like, you know
Who
what I
did
mean?
it?
Like,
All those things.
so many things are too many danglies on that one.
Yes. All right. So the other things he says for wrapping it up fast was consider what you want your final message to say about the nature of life or your story or whatever your theme is. So I mentioned that one before, but it's a good one to end on because that you you should plan that in advance. He advises that. So you get it, you think about all of the things that you questions you need to answer and then how you want this thing to end. You're trying to be efficient. Your story basically is over and your goal is to communicate any additional information as quickly and clearly as possible, but also to have that emotional note. So if it's a
Right.
romance, you want to leave on a hopeful, happy note. Generally, if it's a tragedy, I just speaking of tragedies, one of them is coming up in the next book or the next chapter, but you just want to think about that ahead of time.
Right.
And one of the pieces of homework he gives in that how you do it is consider the final moments of your three favorite stories. Carefully examine how they make you feel and what you can quote steal from them. So how can you do that in your book? And then we get to the anything else on how you do it, any of those notes that stood out for you?
No, you did great.
All right. So then the mini final exam comes up. That's another very good one for illustrating the point. And then for continuing ed, it is Goodfellas, which I did watch. Well, I've seen it before, and that one ended on a good note, but that one is wrapped up really nicely. So that's the continuing ed. So if you want to read the continuing ed for this particular one, it's Goodfellas. All right. And then after the mini final exam, that's the end of part one.
Part
So
one.
part one, and then we are on to part two. So again, just to remind you, part one is the essential principles of plot, and then we're going to be covering in the next part essential principles of character. Anything else from you on these chapters, 27 essential?
No, I think I've used all my words.
Okay, sorry. All right, well, that's it for us for this one. It was a short but a good one, and thank you for reading along with us. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.